Hey everyone, Hidden here with a quick tutorial on just basically my method for getting started with sketching, right? So this is going to be a tutorial just on how I handle things from a blank canvas to the end of the sketching phase. Generally, I use two sketches, two main sketch layers, and basically the only tools I use is sometimes the erase, mostly Control Z, and the default light pencil tool in Clip Studio Paint. EX, but non-EX is just as good. Um, so I guess I can get started. Originally, I was going to do a video covering from sketch all the way to color, shade, and everything, but that video turned out to be way too long. So instead, I'm going to break it up into 3 separate videos, hopefully around the 15-minute mark, which is all I can upload to YouTube right now. So to get started, I have a blank canvas here, obviously, and I have 2 layers. The paper, which is default with Clip Studio when you pick a new project. You can turn that off or on. I generally leave it on for obvious reasons. And then the first layer, which will be my sketch layer. So starting out, I'm probably just going to do a basic quarter turn character portrait. I start with the head, which is a little bit of a bad, what's the word? Habit. Starting with the head, always starting with the head rather, you end up getting a lot of practice in the head rather than the rest of the body. And you'll be able to see that here where I can just literally do this relatively quickly without any effort. As where if I get down to the hands, feet, and the rest, it's a little bit more or I wouldn't say complicated, but I'm just less practiced because I always start with the head. But I will discuss later in probably a different video on how to get over that bad habit because I've been practicing that as well. But as I said, here I'm just kind of playing around, trying to get a feel for what this could be. When I go into something like this, and it's not like a commission or I'm basically just drawing for practice, I generally don't have anything in mind on what I'm going to end up doing. So with that being said, you'll see me kind of sketch something out, decide I don't like it, like the mouth, for example. I'm not too fond of how I have that done here. So I'm going to erase a little bit and open it up, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more fun. And I can already see little things here and there that I'm not too fond of, but that's why we do sketches. Because you can then take the sketch. All right, flip your canvas, because flipping your canvas will show you everything. So you can see here, once I flipped it, like that mouth, every issue I had with it, which you might not be able to see it, and don't feel bad if you don't. This is years of practice, and just even like if for example I was watching somebody else draw, I might not even be able to see it. But just getting used to, how you do things, how one individual person does things. And I could tell right away that mouth was not to my liking. So, not a lot to say right now. I'm trying to go fast, but I don't actually need to because, like I said, I'm actually going to dedicate this whole 15 minutes to just the sketch phase. So, with that being said, I'm going to just keep working down the line. There's not a lot I actually have to say about the sketch phase, other than the fact that it generally takes me the longest. Because, just refining everything. So like you could see here, I already drew her bust rather wide. Sorry about that. So that is a bit of an issue. I also have a pretty bad habit of breaking the spine, but I kind of like the way that looks, so it's not something I care to correct, at least not in, you know, just silly little goof pictures like this. If I was doing or trying to emulate a style that's not just like my own homebrewed style, I might put a little bit more effort into making sure I don't do that. But here, I'm just going to let it slide. And like I said, you know, when you're drawing, which you should be, if you're serious about art, you should be drawing several hours a day. Granted, don't push yourself to do that. If you don't feel like that's something you want to do, pushing yourself is just going to cause you to burn out really quick. And then just hate everything to do with drawing. It took me years to get to where I was drawing 8 hours or even greater a day, you know. And then once you get to that point, it's actually really awesome because you're going to see your overall skill just start to skyrocket. And I guess I could be mentioning what I'm doing there. So Control T allows you to transform. You can scale it down, scale it up, and this little crosshair is the pivot point. So if I put it like on her neck here, the image pivots around the neck now. But if I put it, say, around her waist, it'll now pivot around the waist. It's really useful, and I could show you, like, for example, say I don't really care for the way her arm is here. I can take the lasso tool, which is under the select option, and then do it around the shoulder. And then if I hit Control T again, I can actually move the pivot point up to the shoulder. And you can see now I can move her arm around. Obviously, you're going to have to play with that. And if I were to put her arm out here, it wouldn't look right. But you could easily correct that. So like, for example, if I wanted to do that, I could pivot in a little bit more right about there. Take it right here around the elbow and then pivot it back. Now you can already see that that looks a lot more realistic, or not even realistic, but just overall more aesthetically pleasing. I guess you could say realistic. It follows the rules of anatomy a little bit better. But I could say like her forearm here is probably a little too long, and the overall like depth perspective here on this isn't quite right. But like I said, that's what sketching's for, is to get the idea down and then refine it as you go along. So shortly after, or sometime after I get this video out, I'll be doing a line tutorial, and then hopefully a color tutorial, and then finally a shade or a shading tutorial, and then probably in with the shading one I'll do an overall finalizing the image tutorial. So I'm just going to kind of sit here, look over it. The most important thing with just in general improving in art isn't even like, for example, looking up tutorials like this one. I mean, it helps. It definitely helps. But the most important thing is drawing. And anything you can do to convince yourself to draw and want to draw, and that's what you need to do. Not too big of a fan of the way I did the calf there. I could show you how I'm going to end up fixing that. Actually, I'm going to shrink the image down a little bit. I'm on a really large canvas size, so that kind of facilitates being able to do stuff like this. My canvas size is somewhere around 5,500 by 6,800, I believe. Which isn't, there's nothing special about that. It's totally random numbers. But it's just something I feel comfortable on. And you can see during the sketch phase, I don't really, at least the initial sketch phase, I don't really zoom in too much. The reason for that is because you don't want to take this first initial sketch phase too seriously. I mean, like with the calf there, yeah, that was something that really bugged me, so I went ahead and fixed it. But for something like the way this knee right here is uncentered with the shin, I'm probably not going to fix that right now. And it might even show up in the final product. But right now, it's not that important for me to fix. I can tell you that I'm not a fan of her waist down to her feet. I think that's a little too long. And I'll show you how I fix that. A lot of people tend to think that using the transform tool is a bit of a crutch, and I guess you could say it is. But I could easily erase this or make another sketch layer and, you know, go over that and take the time out to completely correct that. Which you can see right here, I put the pivot point up to her waist because that's actually what I'm basing the proportions on. That's something I've kind of just picked up from practice, but you can see right here I do use that pivot point a lot, and I do recommend getting at least comfortable with using it. So anyways, back on the notion that transforming is a crutch. If you do a lot of traditional, then absolutely using the transform tool is a crutch. I don't do much traditional ever anymore, but I still know for a fact that I could have just, instead of transforming, I could have turned the opacity down, added a new layer, and then seen what I didn't like, and then adjust it here. Which is what I'm going to do anyways, but it's just quicker, easier, and faster to handle it with a transform tool. So I say, use the tools you're given, you're going to be better for it. And the idea that you're less of an artist for using these tools is a silly one, and it's going to really slow your progress down. I'm actually running short on time. I'm amazed at how long this is taking me. Generally, a full picture, full color takes me about an hour. This one, I zoomed in a little bit, by the way, so I have to adjust my pen size, which is just something I do by habit. See, I had it on 30, now I have it on, or I have it on 30 now, and it makes this box, and for some reason, when it's a box, it doesn't feel comfortable, but if I scale it down a little bit, it makes this perfect circle again. That's what I like. Anyways, I think I'm going to just do a quick touch up on this, and we might actually have to end the video. So I'm going to try to, so I see her chest is a little bit too wide here again. I mentioned that earlier, so I'm going to try to thin that out a little bit in the second sketch. And drawing the bust here, or the breast here, I'm just going to ignore that for now so I can try to figure out the proper anatomy. So here I go trying to do that. Which actually it's worthwhile to mention that. Don't be so quick to add boobs. If you know how boobs work and you know how to draw them, which I could do a boob tutorial later, but adding them first is literally going to block the rib cage and the sternum and the chest area, which is going to cause a lot of proportion issues, as you can see it clearly did when I was initially sketching this out. That's another bad habit I could say that I have. All right, I'm actually going to have to end the video now, but if you liked what you seen or learned anything, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment if you want specific videos. If there's something you want to see, like, share, all that good stuff. Yeah, comment anything you want to see. If you have any questions, I'll answer as many as I can. And until next time, guys, see you later.